Clear that at the sitting that he talks about, that the speaker adjourned the House wherein other members had issues. That sitting was adjourned to the 15th of August. Now, I do recall vividly, I was the majority leader, I moved the motion, and I suggested the 30th of August because we needed time to look into other issues. We wanted to look at issues of autonomy, and we said within that period, that window of opportunity, members were going to break into various committees and see how we will handle issues pertaining to our autonomy. And my brother here incidentally was the person who stood up and said that he has objections because the date should be 15th of August and not 30th, that the 30th is too much. And normally we sit together. And so I said, okay, what date do you think will be agreeable to all? He suggested the 15th. I now moved the motion that I withdrew the motion for the 30th, and I said, having listened to my friend, I agree with him completely.
Is that correct?
Well, it's an allusion to what I said at the House.
No,
it's not correct.
It's a yes or no question.
It's not correct.
That's not correct.
Yes, that is an allusion to which I said the House was unilaterally. Why I objected.
Did you suggest a date?
No, yes, I didn't. No? I didn't, because other members had also stood up and condemned the long adjournment which the Speaker has intended to adjourn the House to. Because we had issues. Do you sit beside
him in the House?
Hello?
Do you sit beside him in the
House?
House?
Yes, I sit beside him.
Okay.
The Speaker allocates seats. And so if I had stood up to suggest a date, I couldn't have said that the House was unilaterally adjourned.
What dates did you suggest?
I never suggested a date. I told the Speaker that the date to which he wants to adjourn the House, because usually we have an issue. I'm telling you that we had a supplementary appropriation bill which was pending before the House. And I suggested that...
Well, at the end of the day, it was adjourned anyway.
Unilaterally. I want that word emphasized.
But the majority leader says that it was adjourned. I mean...
There was no...
There were rancor in the House.
I'm coming.
And once the government is gone, you can only challenge it through...
There are procedures in the House. Now, if a motion is moved, and you have reservations as regards the efficacy of that motion, you are at liberty to move a counter motion. Normally, once the motion is moved, the Speaker will put the question, okay, is there a counter motion? Which question was indeed put? He was in the House, and he never moved any counter motion.
Now, what I'm saying...
You understand?
What is...
So the House...
What is the...
No, he did. Let me make my point. He did. But that is not even the issue. The issue is, if he had reservations as regards the date that the House was to adjourn, to reconvene, he ought to have come by way of a motion. The question was put to the House. Is there any counter motion as regards the motion moved by the majority leader? Everybody kept quiet. He said, those of you who are in favor that this House will reconvene on the 15th of August, say aye. Everybody unanimously said aye.
Including those who had objected?
The next question was, those of you who are not in support say nay, not a voice. Well, and so we validly adjourned to the 15th. Well, There's no question about that.
I'm happy that he's saying, I'm happy that he said that I objected, that there was a long adjournment. That is because I raised my hand and the Speaker acknowledged me. Other members who also raised their hands and were not acknowledged started rumbling on the floor of the Benue State Assembly, and the government went without giving us an opportunity as to whether there was a counter motion. Now, if I'm a presiding officer, and you choose...
When you were acknowledged, you did not present a counter motion.
Yes, you have no choice once the government goes.
No, but
the question was
you said, just a moment, you said that the Speaker acknowledged you when you raised your hand.
It was not time for counter motion. At this point was for me to tell him that I do not support the long adjournment.
And you suggested the 15th.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You understand?
At the end of the day, the House was adjourned.
Validly adjourned to the 15th.
Was adjourned because, we were not there, and we would not know whether or not the ayes or the inays, even when we see it on television in the National Assembly, we're not very sure of, sometimes whether the ayes or the nays have it. It's usually very debatable.
Thank you.
But the thing right now is this, it was adjourned.
It was adjourned.
Later on, it was reconvened. You claim
illegally.
Yes. No, not illegally.
You
notice of impeachment,
which you haven't
and
done right now.
The notice will be transmitted to the governor. That is the point I made.
Well, I have a list here.
When you speak about grounds of
let me quickly ask you then,
misconduct.
just a moment. Do you then have the 10 signatures at the minimum that you need?
Yes, we do.
You have it. Why haven't you served him then?
No, No. We just rose yesterday, and the atmosphere in the state, was charged. But
sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, I want to say something. There is a misconception about what the Constitution says as regards regulating the affairs of the Assembly. My colleague spoke about they have the power to regulate.
Yes.
You can only regulate when you are validly seated. And that is the point we are making.
The House was... No,
I'm coming, please. I think... Let us talk.
You have spoken. I think that I should also make my point. Now, validly...
Insofar as the House was not validly reconstituted, every activity that happened, a new speaker, suspension of other members and all that, cannot stand in the eyes of the law.
Okay, now...
It is a nullity.
You made your point.
Yes, now let me say this. He alleged that 12 members sat. This is evidence of those that sat yesterday and suspended them.
How many of you are on that list?
We are 19 here, and these members were at the EFCC on the invitation, which is verifiable.
How many
and I call their name, 4 of them, making the 22. Now, he is saying, and it's so surprising to me that a parliamentarian at this level could make this kind of allusion. He knows, and I'm saying that not 8 members. Only 7, because the speaker who presided ab initio was on suspension and lacked the capacity to preside. And so he's not taken as a member. Only 7 members of the Benue State House Assembly, and I want to reduce this to 7.
You had no right to suspend.
Now, this is the truth of the matter.
Now, when they sat, as the House was not validly reconvened,
or would you let me interrupt?
Was this on the 15th?
Just so far as the House was not validly reconvened, you had no right to suspend.
Honorable Biam, let us leave out.
How will 7 persons
may I come in here?
22 persons in Parliament?
You had no right to reconvene.
I think we need to go on break now.
You must reconvene appropriately.
And suspend 22 members.
Insofar as
if you will not let me come in,
was illegal.
you understand.
You had no right to reconvene. And that's the point we are making.
That's what we have to leave the program this morning.
You had no right to reconvene.
Has been with us. Is the Deputy Majority Leader of the APC faction. And Benjamin Adanyi is the former Majority Leader. The program will continue in just a moment. Please stay with us.
You could not reconvene in accordance with the House.